ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोर् श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायिने कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः। पंचतत्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतश्चार्थे सुभिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्म हृदय आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः। तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। स्वस्ति अस्तु विश्वस्य खलः प्रसीदतां ध्यायन्तु भूतानि शिवं मिथो धिया। मनस्य भद्रं भजतादधोक्षजय आवेश्यतां नो मतिरप्यहेतुकी। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, chapter number 2, verse 9 and 10. And this is commentary by Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur about the holy name. And we read that even if one is a Vaishnava, which means one takes Diksha from a Vaishnava Guru and is engaged in chanting of the name or devotional activity, then according to the level of their bhakti, their aparadhas or offenses are removed, and in the corresponding proportion they get the blessings of bhakti deva or devotion, and they have realization. And there are 14 levels of bhakti realization, beginning from the grace of a devotee up to the experience of the Lord. So this is when there are offenses. If someone is free from offense, then there are only two steps. That is, chant the name and you are transported to Vaikuntha. Nothing in between. So this is what we were reading, and then the question came that if someone dies Vaishnava and has not attained perfection, what happens to such a person? So this is what we are reading. So one thing he said was that a Vaishnava does not go to hell because Yamaraj has no jurisdiction over him, even if he has committed some sinful activities. And whenever he becomes free from them, then he is out of this material world. So he says that Krishna says, Nahi anga upkramed bhanso mad dharmasya uddhav anuapi iti bhagavad vakyat. Lord Krishna says in 11th canto that if someone engages in devotion, then it is never lost. So if one has performed some devotional service in one life and is not perfected, then he continues in the next life. Kinchid bhakti ankurasya api anaspara svabhavat. So the seed of bhakti cannot be destroyed by anything. Papadibhir durati kramatvat, and it cannot be overpowered by any sinful activity. Amoghatvatcha, and it is unfailing, means it will always give its benefit. So avashyameva janishyamana patra puspadi arthameva tesham janma bhavet natu nasyad avastha papunya nibandhanam yaduktam. So then he says that such Vaishnavas who did not complete one life and they have committed sinful activities, then they may be born in next life for the sake of supplying fruits and flowers in the service of the Lord. And their birth is not to be taken as a punishment from sinful activities. Because the Vaishnava is not born because of some punishment. Means you can take birth as a flower in the garden and your flower is offered to the Lord. So you are still doing service. If someone does some deep sinful activity, then what happens? So na karma bandhanam janma Vaishnavanam cha vidyate iti. Because for Vaishnavas there is no bondage of karma, nor a birth as an outcome of karma. This does not happen to them. Ato janmantare tesham prachina bhakti devya prasadena bhagavad prapti. So in that life, after doing this service, then by the grace of the devotion which has been performed in the previous life, then they don't take another birth. They become liberated and attain the Lord. Yaduktam, as it is said in the first canto, Navai jano jatu kathanchana vrajen mukunda sevyanya vadanga sansritim smaran mukundangari upaguhanam punar vihatum ichetna rasagruho jana. Says that a Vaishnava, he does not take birth like other people. Navai jano jatu kathanchan avraje mukunda sevi. Who has done service to Lord Mukunda, to Krishna, then even if he is taking birth again, it is not like others. Smaran mukundangari upaguhanam punarvihatum ichet rasagruhana. So anybody who has got the taste of devotional service, then he or she never wants to give it up. Atra anyavaditi karmi janadivat sansritim punya papa phala bhogamayim prapnoti kintu bhagavad dattam sukh dukhmayi sanskritim prapnoti. So he says that he will take birth, but not like others. Others means people who are not devotees. And he may also experience happiness and distress in that life. But that happiness and distress is not coming from karma. It is being given by the Lord Himself. So even if devotee is suffering, that is not suffering out of karma. Yaduktam Srutya, as it is said in the prayers of the Shruti, Tvadavigamina Veti Bhavadutta Subhashubhyor Guna Vigunani Anvayani. As it is said that those who are your devotees, they do not know the outcomes, bad or good, coming from the karma. Tesham yavat nama paradha kshaya bhavas tavat anashtani papani abhukta falani eva tishthanti bhakti vridhya tadabhyasena nama pragchaye sati sadya eva samula papa kshayat bhagavantam prapnoti. So as long as their offenses are not mitigated or destroyed or removed, then their sins remain attached to them. They do not become free from the sins, but these sins do not give them any result. And when by performance of devotional service one becomes free from the offense, then immediately one becomes free from the sin. So that means as long as the offenses are there, then the sins remain, but they are not effective. They are not troubling one. And when one becomes free from sinful offenses, then the sin are immediately destroyed, as it happened in the case of Ajamila. And when he chanted the name for the first time, then he immediately became free from the sins. Before that he had sins. And then the sins are destroyed from their very root, and one attains the Supreme Lord. Bhakti vridhyartham eka dvi tri janmani Vaishnava api prapnuvanti. And even after they have become free from the sins and offenses, they may still take 1, 2 or 3 births for intensifying their devotion. So therefore it is possible that a Vaishnava can also take birth. And it is in 2 ways. One is that one has not become free from the offense, and therefore one is born. Another is that one is free from offense and still one may take birth, as the example of Jada Bharata was given. So he took 3 births. Tesham drishyamanani vaishayik sukhani bhakti dharmothani yadukta. So if such a person who are devotees of the Lord, who are Vaishnavas, and they are taking birth and they are free from any sinful activities or any pious activities, because they are not getting the result from karma, but they may also get material pleasures or material pleasurable situation. So how do they get it? But usually you get material pleasurable situation because of piety, some pious deeds in the past, and you get some miserable condition because of some sinful activity from the past. So he says that what they are getting is an outcome of bhakti. It's only the devotional service which grants them that happiness. As it is said in the beginning of Bhagavatam, dharmasya hi apvargasya nartho arthaya kalpate narthasya dharma kantasya kamo labha hi smrita kamasya nendriya priti labho jivataya jivasya tattva jigyasa narthayasya karmabhi. So this dharma is meant for apvarga. Dharmasya hi apvargasya means this dharma in the form of devotion. So he says it is not meant to earn money from it. Dharmasya apvargasya nartho arthaya kalpate and not arthasya dharmakantasya. And the money is actually meant only for engaging in devotional activity, not for enjoying. So that is how Vaishnavas are. Vaishnavas' money is not for material pleasures. Because Vaishnava has no interest in this. And a Vaishnava does not engage in religious activity because he wants to become rich or materially comfortable. So kamasya na indriya priti, and he does not get material objects for satisfying the senses, but only for survival, so that one can perform devotional service. And then what about the suffering or distressful situation which a Vaishnava also faces? So he says, iti dukkhani tu kanichit svabhakta bhakti vardhana chaturena bhagavata langhana katu kausadha payanadini shudha vriddhi pratipadikena bhisjaya dattana. So a Vaishnava gets suffering or miserable situation that is given by the Lord himself, who is very expert in increasing the devotion of his devotee. So just like when someone is sick, then the doctor, one of the effort of the doctor is to increase the digestive fire. And for that he may have to give some bitter medicine, like aloe vera. So bitter medicine increases the fire, it helps the liver. All the bitter is supposed to be cooling. So like that, Lord also gives some suffering which increases the appetite for devotion. Because when one is in suffering situation, then one remembers God. One is pious person, one is a devotee, then naturally one remembers the worshipful Lord more than when one is in comfortable position. And one also becomes more humble and starts thinking that actually I am so fallen and therefore I am suffering. So this way, one's devotion becomes intensified, one meditates more and thinks more of God. So that's why God himself arranges trouble for his devotees. So just like the parents may sometimes spank the child for the welfare of the child, not that they take pleasure in it, but to fix him. So in the same way. So it's not that everything is just a piece of cake. You just have to take sometimes bitter pill. So as Krishna himself says, yasyaham anugranami harisya tad dhanam samay. Says, when I give blessing to somebody, I snatch away his wealth, make him poor. And then when he is poor, he has nowhere to go but come and cry in front of me. Because all the relatives, they leave. Because relatives are relative. They are relative according to the wealth. More wealth, more relatives. That's why they are called relatives. So when there is no more wealth, then everybody leaves the person alone, and he has more free time to chant. When he has wealth, then everybody is after him. So therefore Krishna says that I remove the wealth. And everybody drops him, he is free. So this is how he acts. So this is the influence of the offensive he is talking. Because the main thing in devotion, the main thing, especially in the beginning stage, is to understand the offenses. So there are 10 offenses which are to be understood, and the offenses are which keeps us away from God. So yes, some of these offenses are more dangerous than the others. So the 10 offenses are Satam Ninda Namane Paramapradham Vitamite. The first one is to criticize devotees. This is highly offensive. And Lord does not like it. Why? Yataha khyatim yata katham sahate tad vigarham. That how can Lord or His name can tolerate criticism of His devotees, because His fame is known only through the devotees. It is devotees who make the Lord known, or it is the devotees who spread the name of the Lord. So this is the first offense, and I think it is more popular, therefore it is kept as number 1. Because usually there is a lot of criticism. And the next one is Sivasya Sri Vishnor Iha Gunanamadi Saklam Dhiya Bhinnam Tasvet Saklam Namahit Kara. This is also to be understood, that most people do not understand that there is only one God, and that God is called Krishna, and everybody else is just dependent on Him. So to consider that Shiva is independent of Krishna, that is also offense. To consider that Shiva is an independent God or Durga is an independent God, this is an offense. So we have to know it very clearly that the Supreme God is Krishna, and all others are Devas. Or Krishna has his avatars, they are not different, Narayana, Vishnu, that is okay. But others are Devas, and these Devas are empowered beings, and they are appointed by Krishna for managerial affairs of the world. Shiva is a very great devotee of Krishna, therefore he is always meditating on him. So to criticize Shiva is also offense, or to see him as completely independent Supreme Lord, that is also offense. So both ways we have to know. So we already read the story of Daksha before, how Daksha has offended Shiva, and then we saw what happened, that he was killed. His head was chopped off right in the sacrifice, and then he got a goat head. So that is because of the offense. And then this continued even in the next life, and he became Naveen Daksha, and he offended Narada. So this is the problem with the offense. If you develop this once, it's very difficult to get rid of it. You get habituated. So this is second offense. And the third is Guru or Avagya, to disregard, disrespect the Guru. So Guru is one who is giving knowledge about God. Actually he brings one to the path of devotion. He is the doorway to the spiritual world. And if one disregards, disrespects or criticizes him, then this is highly offensive. And Shruti Shastra Nindanam, Guru Avagya Shruti Shastra Nindanam, and Tatharthvada Harinam Nikalpana. The next one is to criticize the scriptures, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. Think that they are useless, they were written by Pat Bali Brahmanas, and people say like that. Or imaginary stories. So this is also very offensive. Or to knowingly not follow the injunction of Shastra. So Shastra is given for our welfare. God has no interest otherwise in giving it. It's only for us to benefit from it. And if we disregard them or criticize them or find fault in them or twist their meaning, give wrong interpretations, that is offensive. Tathartha arthavado harinamni kalpanam. And then to consider that these explanations of the holy name, that name has so much power that it destroys all your sins, to think this is imaginary or it is exaggeration, it is not real, this is an offense. Offense number 5. And then number 6 is to give some wrong interpretation to these statements. And now no balad yasya hi papa buddhi na vidyate tasya yamaihi suddhi. And there are people who say, well, name is very powerful, I can commit sinful activity and then I can chant the name. And this way I can become free from sin. So to commit sinful activities, knowing that name has the power to purify me. So he says such a person can never be purified because you are misusing it. It is a fact that name has the power, but it does not mean that you use that power or rather misuse that power. So just like those people whose relatives are in some powerful position, they try to misuse it. So it is something like that. So he says such a person is never purified by following any amount of rules and regulations or atonement or prashchitta. Because what can purify the name itself is unhappy. Or even Yamaraj cannot purify. Yama means rules, regulations, or Yama means Lord of Death. So this is offense number 7 and 8. 8th one is Dharmavart Tyag Hotadi Sarva Subha Kriya Samyadi Pramada. To equate the chanting of the name to religious activities. So there are these sacrifices, yajnas performed at certain specific occasions. So to say, well, name is very powerful, instead of doing the yajna, I can just chant the name and I can get the benefit of doing the yajna, which means I am using the yajna and using the name instead of yajna. So that is also misusing. So it is not as bad as committing sinful activity, but it is also offensive. In case of sinful activity, one is doing prohibited action on the power of the name. In case of comparing it or equating to some ritual, one is using it for something which is prescribed in the Smriti, Shastra or religious literature. So to equate it to some vrata, some vow, fasting or some charitable act, so that is also aparadh. And there is one word here as pramada, which can be taken as along with it or as a separate offense. Take it separate, then the ninth one is pramada, means to be inattentive. So not paying attention while chanting or while listening to kirtan. So that is also offense. And then the next one is Shraddhadhane vimukhe pyashanvati yaschopadesa shivanamaparam. Someone has no faith in the name, is not devoted to the Lord and has no interest in hearing. When you try to instruct such a person about the name of the Lord, so that is also offensive, because you are throwing the pearls in front of a swine, or you are playing guitar in front of a pig. So that is business. So that means you don't know the value of the name, you just throwing it wherever. So it should not be, because that person is actually you are going to make this person commit offense, and then you become part in that. Because that person who has no interest in it will disrespect the name, and he is disrespecting because you are trying to inform him about it, and he or she has no interest in it. So you are actually instrumental in making him offend the name, therefore then you also become party to it. It's like it is said that anyone who kills an animal or one who makes someone kill, both are sinful. So same way here. And then the last is that Sutvapi nam mahatmam ya priti rahitodama aham mamadi parmo namni sopi aparadha. That after hearing all these explanations about the name, one still has no interest in it. So such a person is very low class and offensive. Still continues materialistic way, continues to engage in materialistic activities, then he is also offensive. So these are the 10 offenses, or 11 if you count Pramada separately. And now he says that out of this some are very dangerous. So he says, Kanichittu prabala nama aparadha phalani yato dasasu nama aparadhesu madhye अर्थवाद अर्थांतर कल्पना शुभकर्म साम्यानि इति त्रय साक्षाद वैष्णवताय एव व्याघातः. So he says out of these 10 offenses, 3 are completely against the very principle of devotion. That means if you commit these offenses, you are not even a Vaishnava anymore, because you are cutting the very root. So number 1 is to consider the chanting of the name or the glories of the name as arthavad, that they are false or they are exaggeration. So that means you do not accept the name as it is. So you are not a Vaishnava. He says that they are very dangerous. Similarly, to misinterpret it, twist the meaning. or to compare it to an auspicious activity. So those people who are even committing offense, committing sins on the power of the name, at least they accept that name has the power to remove the sin. They are misusing it, but they acknowledge the power of the name. These people are not even acknowledging that. So therefore he says that these three are just against the very principle of Vaishnavism. They destroy the very basis of Vaishnavism. Because Vaishnava means when you accept Vishnu as supreme. But if one is not accepting the name as supreme, name of Vishnu, that means how can he be a Vaishnava then? And then Tebhyo Anyeshu tu madhye dvau ati prablam. So in the remaining, then two are more powerful. Number one is Mahadaparad, means to offend a devotee. And this obviously includes also the Guru. And Nama Bal Hetuka Papa Pravritti, and to commit sin on the strength of the name, to consider, to think that I will purify myself by chanting. So he says these are very dangerous, very powerful. Yataha khatim yatam katham usahate tad vigraham. Because it is said that how can the name tolerate the criticism of a devotee from whom he is getting his fame? So that statement is to show that it is very dangerous. And the other one is Namno balad yasya hi papa buddhi na vidyate tasya amiri suddhi, that one who commits sinful activities on the strength of name cannot be purified by anything. So these two therefore are also very dangerous. Iti vishesh vibhishika ukte. So he says because there is a special mention made of these two, of all the 10, these two are specifically mentioned as the cause of fear. अतस्तौ समुचित दुख भोग सहित संतत नाम कीर्तनैव साम्यतो नाम. So he says that if one commits these two offenses, then the only way one can become free from them is that one has to suffer appropriate reaction for offense, and one has to continuously do Nam Kirtan. Then only one be freed from this, otherwise not. अन्ये नाम अपराधास्तु संतत नाम कीर्तनादि भिरेव साम्यन्ति. Other offenses, they can be removed by continuous Nam Kirtan. So, Nam Aparadhi Yukta Nam, Nama Neva Aranti Agam. Those who are having Nama Aparadha or offense against the name, it is the name alone which removes them. And Avishranti Prayuktani, Tani Eva Takarani, so one has to do it non-stop. Avishranti.
Japa is also.
Yes. Nam Japa, Nam Kirtan. So stop everything and just do Japa. Which means that you take shelter of the name, that please, I am at your mercy.
In the case of the karma, the reaction of the karma they are recorded, the person has to suffer or enjoy according to the previous activity. But in this case, recorded and how it happens like that.
What do you mean how it happens?
Because in the case of karma, there is some kind of recording of the bad activities and the good activities, and the person has to suffer or enjoy.
Same here.
Same here.
It's also recorded.
Then according to legality or to awareness of nobody's doing intentionally.
Nobody's doing intentionally. How can you say that? Nobody's doing intentionally.
Vaishnava, they should not intentionally.
If they are not doing intentionally, why they are stated here? People do intentionally all. Yeah. It's not. People criticize others, devotees, don't they criticize? So, they are criticizing unknowingly or what? Everybody knows that criticizing devotees is an offense. And still they do it. So this is intentional or unintentional? So therefore these are the powerful ones which one have to avoid, and one becomes free only by going through the requisite suffering and chanting non-stop. ये च नामापराधिनः कर्म ज्ञानादि रहितः श्रवण कीर्तनादिभिः भक्तिमन्तः किंतु अनाश्रित गुरुचरणत्वाद् अदीक्षितः तेपि वैष्णव शब्देनैव अभिधीयन्ते. Now he takes another case, because this till now he was discussing about those who have offenses and they are Vaishnavas because they have accepted a Vaishnava Guru. He says, what about if someone has not accepted a Vaishnava Guru, one has not taken Diksha and still engaged in devotional activities of Nam Kirtan, worship, etc. Because they are also called Vaishnavas and they are not engaged in the activities of Karma Yoga or Jnana Yoga. They are not interested, they understand Bhakti is superior. So they take to that process, and yet they also have offenses. So what is their situation? तथा ही वैष्णव इति सास्य देवता इति सूत्रेण अन भक्ति इति सूत्रेण च सिद्ध्यन्ति. अतो ये दीक्षया देवतीकृत्य विष्णवो ये च भजनेन भजनीयकृत विष्णव ते उभे अपि व्यपदेशान्तरराहित्याद् वैष्णवा एव इति. तेषामपि न स्यात् नरकपातादि पूर्वादिति केचिदः. So he says that the word Vaishnava can be derived in two ways from grammar. One is the Panini Sutra, he says Sasya Devata, means there is a suffix an which is applied on the word for which you want to derive. So you have the word Vishnu and you apply the suffix an, you get the word Vaishnava, which means that Vishnu is his Devata. Means a person who accepts Vishnu as one's worshipable deity, which means that one actually takes Diksha. So that is one type of Vaishnava. And other way you can derive is that you apply in this sense of bhakti, that he is doing devotional service to Vishnu. That is Vaishnava. So first one refers to one who has taken Diksha and second one refers to one who has not taken Diksha. So both are called Vaishnavas. So the first one we have already discussed, that if one has offense, then what happens to such a person? So what about this person who is not who is also Vaishnava but not initiated. So he says some people say that they also do not go to hell. Earlier he said that Vaishnava, even if he has some sinful karma on his head, does not go to hell. So what about this person who is not initiated? Will he go to hell or not? So he says that some people say that he is also like other Vaishnavas, therefore he should also not go to hell. So he answers, he says, Naitat Susamyatam. He says, this is not right. This is not true. Why is that? He says that in Bhagavatam, Lord Krishna, while instructing Uddhava, he speaks this verse. He says, Nirdehamadhyam Sulabham Sudurlabham Plavam Sukalpam Guru Karnadharam Mayanukulena Nabhasvitaritam Puvan Bhavabdhim Nataret Sayatmaha. He says that this human body is very rare to attain. So many species of life. Everybody is not human beings. If you take the percentage of human beings in the universe, it is very minuscule, very little. So human birth is very, very rare. But now it is, we have it. And it is like a boat to cross the material ocean. Plavam Sukalpam. And a boat does not go in a proper direction unless there is a boatman, a captain. So Guru Karnadharam. So Guru is the boatman. And Mayanukulena Nabhasvarita. He says, and I bring the favorable wind. That is in the form of Shastra. Shastric injunction, I like the favorable wind. And Puman Bhavabdhimna Taret. But if one person with all this, getting a human body and having Shastric knowledge, does not cross over the material world, then he is called Atmaha, or one who is committing suicide or killing the Atma. So if the person is engaged in devotional activities and one does not have Guru, then he does not have a captain for his boat. So he is not going to cross the ocean. That's what Krishna means. But if the wind is flowing nicely and you have your sailboat, then there has to be somebody to guide it. So therefore he says that Ityado Guru Karnadharam ityukte Gurum vinana bhagvantam sukhena prapnuvanti. So he says without Guru one cannot easily attain God. It is not possible. And therefore these people are not going to be treated like the other Vaishnavas. Drishyate eva tasmad iyam atra vyavastha. So he says that therefore the arrangement is as follows. So he says that ye go gardhavadaya eva visheshu indriyani sadachariyanti. He says those people who are like animals, like a cow or an ass, who are engaged only in sense pleasures, nothing else. Ko Bhagavan ka bhakti, ko Guru iti swapnepi na jananti. What is God? What is Shastra? What is devotion? They don't know this even in their dreams. They just are like animals. There are people like that. They have no idea. तेषामेव नामाभासीदि रीत्या गृहीत हरि नाम नाम अजामिलादि नाम इव निरपराधनाम गुरुम विनापि भक्ति एव उद्धार. So he says that if such people, if they even perform namabhas, that they chant the name, not even thinking of God or anything, incidentally somehow they chant the name. That is number one condition. And number two, that they are free from offense, they have not committed offense. Then they will be delivered without Guru, as it happened in case of Babaji. So there is no doubt about it. But those who are not like that, they will not. So Harir bhajniya eva, bhajanam tat prapkam eva, tadupdeshta gurur eva, gurupdeshta bhakta eva purve harim prapur, iti vivek visheshvatve api no diksham na cha satkriyam na cha purascharyam manavikshate mantroyam rasnaspageva falati Sri Krishna namatmaka iti pramana drishtya ajamiladi drishtantena chakkim me guru karnam samena nam kirtanam adi bhireva me bhagavat praptir bhavini iti manyamanastu guru agya lakshan mahaprabha eva bhagavantam na prapnoti. So those people who know this, that Lord Hari or Krishna must be worshipped, and it is only the path of devotion which leads one to God, and it is only the Guru who gives instructions about it, and it is only those who have had Guru in the past have attained Hari. Says one who knows all this and yet does not take Diksha from a Guru, because there are statements which say that Harinam is so powerful that it does not depend on any Diksha, it does not depend on any atonement, Puruscharya, and this mantra is so powerful that as soon as it touches your tongue, then it gives us benefit. And then they give the example of Ajamila. Look, Ajamila, he got liberated, he didn't have any Guru, so why I have to have a Guru? So, following this logic, and they say that I will just do Nam Kirtan. I take center of the name and I will cross. So he says that they are already doing the great offense of disregarding the Guru. And therefore name is not going to be merciful to them. So they will not attain God. किंतु तस्मिन्नेव जन्मनि जन्मांतरे वा तदपराधक्षये सति श्री गुरु चरणाश्रिते प्राप्नोति. But if they continue performing bhakti, then either in this life or in the next life, when their offense is diminished somehow, then they will come to take shelter of Guru. So, which means that there is no way that such people will attain God without Guru. It's not possible. So this is the explanation. So we'll stop here if there is any question.
So we are kind of lucky to have the holy names, but that's it's very dangerous because these offenses can make us also very unlucky.
Yes. It works both ways.
Now suppose that somebody had a guru and the guru was not qualified somehow. And this so-called guru means that the person has to acknowledge that and seek shelter to another guru and he's qualified.
Yeah, Guru means qualified.
I have a question about Jamil. Before being attracted by the prostitute, wasn't he doing some devotional service? Or
No, he was following Smriti.
Smriti. Oh. So,
Manashram.
Anasha. So it is not. He didn't know about bhakti and this, or he was knowing something.
Well, he was a normal Manashram people. I think karma is the process.
So actually, he was practicing sinful activity, no aparad.
Hmm.
That's why he got hallucinated because he was chanting.
He was unaware of devotion.
Babaji, in this time when it's so hard to find the guru, and people are claiming to be guru, and they're saying they're devotee, how to avoid criticizing them, but understanding that they're not devotee.
Well, you understand, but no need to criticize. Criticizing means to have this malicious feeling inside.
It's not discrimination, like to say that,
Discrimination you have to do.
but that's not a criticism, it's discrimination.
Yeah. Discrimination is one thing, criticism is you are taking pleasure in pulling down someone. Trying to minimize someone's position or unnecessarily trying to find fault. And it's none of your business.
So the distinction is that intention of like maliciousness versus genuinely trying to
I mean, we
understand.
have to discriminate. It's not that you take anybody as guru. But if someone is doing something wrong, okay, that's his or her business, it's none of my problems. You don't have to now go around and write a blog on it. Some people also do that, So that's none of my business. Okay. Unless some crazy guys come up and write something. I don't know why this Justin is famous for that.
What they wrote is a